And when the 6th hour had come, there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour. And at the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani, which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? And some of the bystanders hearing it said, Behold, he is calling Elijah. And someone ran and filled the sponge with sour wine, put it on a reed, and gave it to him to drink, saying, Wait, let us see whether Elijah will come to take him down. And Jesus uttered a loud cry and breathed his last. This passage from Mark 15, verse 33 to 37 has always been an enigma for me, especially verse 34. Jesus cried with a loud voice, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani, which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? My God, why have you forsaken me? I mean, does this sound like it's something that would come from God? Why would God ever say something like this? If you believe the Gospels and Paul, then we know that Jesus is God. Not like God or a God, but the God. John begins his Gospel by telling us that the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And of course, the Word being Jesus. Jesus himself tells of himself in chapter 10, verse 30, I and Father are one. And in Colossians chapter 1, verse 19, for in him all the fullness of God was pleased to dwell. The biblical witness is unanimous. Jesus is God. And here, we see God screaming in agony and in pain of abandonment. Shouldn't Jesus be more like how Jesus is portrayed in John? If you have listened to the Lent reading for today, which is John, if you haven't, please do so right now. But you'd notice that Jesus of John is very different from Jesus of Matthew and Mark. In John, Jesus is the serene, bigger-than-life, regal king of the Jews who does not really show any sign of pain, really. On the cross, Jesus says things like, Woman, behold, this is your son, or I thirst, or it is finished. And that's it. In John, Jesus is this fulfiller of the prophecies. He is this amazing God, King. But here on Mark and Matthew, Jesus is human, maybe too human. Take a look at this painting for a moment. It's a painting by a 19th century French painter named James Tissot. It is a painting of the crucifixion, but it's not of Jesus on the cross, but of the people looking at him from the perspective of Jesus. It's aptly named What Our Savior Saw from the Cross. And at the bottom of the painting, we see Jesus' feet and who may be Mary Magdalene kneeling in front of him. There are 4 other women near him who is sad and crying, but everyone else, literally everyone else, is hostile. They are all shaking their heads, mocking and cursing him to die. And even the oculus, the crowd who followed him everywhere, they have turned on him. The thing is that Jesus doesn't say, Peter, or my disciples, or my oculus, why have you forsaken me? He shouts, my God, why have you forsaken me? What Jesus is really saying here is that even God himself is among that crowd, among those cold stares. At the cross, Jesus was completely and utterly alone. He died alone. What does that mean? It means that what happened on the cross was not just the death of a man, but of God. In other words, on the cross, God experienced death in Jesus. Let me say that one more time. On the cross, God experienced death in Jesus. It means that a member of the Trinity has died. It means that for the next few days at least, a member of the Trinity is missing. It means that what happened on the cross left a permanent mark, a permanent scar on God himself. Think about that. Nothing could be the same. Let's meditate on that cross tonight. Not just what it means for us, but what it must have meant for God. Why did God have to take this kind of extreme measure? Why did God choose this thing that is a stumbling block for Jews and a folly to Gentiles? What does the cross mean to you? A song will be playing for the next few minutes. And during that time, let's just meditate on the cross. But before that, before we begin, let me just leave you with this excerpt from a book named The Crucified God by this esteemed theologian, Jürgen Moltmann. The cross is the utterly incommensurable factor in the revelation of God. We have become far too used to it. We have surrounded the scandal of the cross with roses. We have made a theory of salvation out of it. But that is not the cross. That is not the bleakness inherent in it, placed in it by God. Hegel defined the cross: God is dead. And he no doubt rightly saw that here we are faced by the night of the real, ultimate, and inexplicable absence of God, and that before the word of the cross, we are dependent upon the principle sola fide, that is, the principle of faith only. Sola fide, dependent upon it as nowhere else. Here the faith in creation, the source of all paganism, breaks down. Here this whole philosophy and wisdom is abandoned to folly. Here God is non-God. Here is the triumph of death, the enemy, the non-church, the lawless state, the blasphemer, the soldiers. Here Satan triumphs over God. Our faith begins at the point where atheists suppose that it must be at an end. Our faith begins with the bleakness and power, which is the night of the cross, abandonment, temptation, and doubt about everything that exists. Our faith must be born where it is abandoned by all tangible reality. It must be born of nothingness. It must taste this nothingness and be given it to taste in a way that no philosophy of nihilism can imagine.
To the cross I look, and to the cross I cling. Of its suffering I do drink, of its work I do sing. On it my Savior, both bruised and crushed, showed that God is love and God is just. At the cross you beckon me, you draw me gently to my knees, and I am lost for words, so lost in love, sweetly broken, holy surrender. Priceless gift, undeserved life have I been given through Christ crucified. You called me out of death, you called me into life, and I was under your wrath. Now through the cross I'm reconciled. And at the cross you beckon me, draw me gently to my knees, and I am lost for words, so lost in love.